All right, I think we're in business. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to a few of our teammates. We'll go ahead and start with our leader, James Gagnon. He'll be talking to you later about some of the things that we're working on as a department, some really exciting things. So stay for the whole program to listen to what's happening tomorrow. James, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Good evening, everybody. So glad that you could be here. And Leigh, thank you for doing this again for our families. It's always incredible the information that you're able to dispense out.
Fabulous. And then we'll head over to Alicia Sandoval. She oversees our events, does an amazing job of putting on events like this in person, virtually, has a breadth of experience in the area, and is just so invested in helping our parents understand what's going on. So say hello, Alicia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening.
And then finally from our team, Taylor DeLine, who has an anteater behind her. She looks like she's all ready, to get that eater spirit on. And Taylor helps me with a number of things. She does a lot of outreach to parents, works with the Parent Executive Board. You're going to hear from our chair today, Laarni, a little bit later. But Taylor, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself very quickly and say hello.
Hi, everybody. I'm Taylor. Great to have you here. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. So now that we have most of the people in the room, we'll go ahead and kick off our webinar on, we call it our Anteater Family Collective on career pathways. And we're very lucky to be joined by Leigh Poirier, who oversees a lot of work within the Division of Career Pathways. She has one very significant title, but it seems like she knows everything about what's happening within the division. So we're excited to have her on this webinar to share a little bit about her knowledge. And then we'll also hear from a parent. In these, venues, we really like to hear from parents directly and give you the opportunity to hear from your peers about, some of the ways that they navigate challenges and opportunities for their students in different aspects. And always excited to have students on board as well. So we're going to hear from Keyvon Robinson a little bit later about what it's like to be a student employee at UCI. And he happens to work in what we call our telephone outreach program, which we'll tell you a little bit more about later. So we have a great slate of presenters for you, capping off with James Gagnon, who oversees engagement and annual programs. But let's go ahead and kick things off. Unless I'm leaving anything out, Taylor, I'll go ahead and nope, we're good. Okay, fabulous. Okay, so we're going to hear from our first guest, Laarni van Ruden. I hope I'm saying it correct. I never know 100%. But she is the chair of our Parent Executive Board, and she can tell you a little bit more about her role. But our board is very involved in advocating for parents and for their students, helping us find ways of connecting you all with the resources necessary to guide your student during this time that they're at UCI, and really help them understand what resources they can access themselves as young adults. And so just a little bit about Laarni before we get started is, she's a mother to a third-year undergraduate education major at UCI. She loves the experience so far, so that's good to hear that it's been a pleasant one, and for your student as well. In her professional role, she is a certified public accountant with a private practice in Palo Alto. So for all you parents in the Bay Area, here's your peer here to talk to you about how you manage that distance, from your student down at UCI. And her services focus on services to nonprofit organizations, closely held businesses and individuals. She, her interests are in education, teaching, and family interests. She taught for 9 years an evening class of governmental and nonprofit accounting at the College of San Mateo in San Mateo, California. Bravo. She received her MS in accounting from Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts, and a BA in Chinese studies from Wellesley College in Wellesley, Massachusetts. So we're very happy to have Laarni with us to tell us a little bit about her experience on the PEB, her perspective, and then we'll kind of move on from there. But I really wanted to give her an opportunity to share her experience. So welcome, Laarni.
Thank you, Christine, for your kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. Congratulations. You have made the first step to accessing the breadth of programs and resources available through the Division of Career Pathways. This webinar is how we, the Parents Executive Board, create a space for families to ask critical questions about career preparedness. Please continue to ask these questions through the Q&A box. Make note of the resources that will be shared with you today. Career conversations are difficult. What's my story? Well, my son is a third-year student now in the education department, and I was concerned about what he wanted to do and if he'd even gone to any career fairs. And thanks to Leigh's Poirier's advice, she said, well, there's a live career fair coming up. So what I did was on my weekly Sunday phone call with my son, mentioned this in-person career fair, but that wasn't going to be enough. He said he was going to go. Then I thought, well, I better make sure he goes. So the night before the career fair, I called to remind him about the career fair. And then the morning of the career fair, I texted him to send me pictures from the career fair because I was very serious. I felt like a helicopter mom at that point. It's very painful. However, I stepped back, I let him do it. He did it. He actually texted me pictures of all the materials he picked up from tables. He talked to a principal of a school district who gave him some career advice and about the testing's like and what they're looking for in a teacher. He talked to someone for a summer job from Camp Galileo. He'd actually attended Camp Galileo himself, so he knew what it was about. And then the next Sunday when I spoke to him and asked him, did I go too far? Did I go too far with all that reminders? And he said, no, Mom, it's okay. I really enjoyed myself. And I said, well, you know, there's also a virtual one, but you have to also know your child. And for my son, it was important he was with people. So I really encouraged him to do that. So that's my story. And you'll have your stories too. I'd love to hear them. We want to empower our students to explore and access services on their own. I'm still struggling with that one, as you heard my story. And the future beyond the classroom is bright, at least I hope so. And it certainly was when I was talking to Leigh a little earlier today about the K through 12 hiring market. And I hope so for your students in their majors and for all students at our school. Finally, you too can plan an important role in sharing your perspective as a parent, navigating the many resources that UCI offers by joining our Parent Executive Board. Please join me and the other parents on the PEB. It's a great way to stay engaged with the university and to build your parent network, and it certainly has made my experience at UCI extremely positive. With that, I guess I hand it back to you, Christine.
Thank you so much. And I learned a lot about your experience with your son and giving him, you know, the resources and the encouragement to find his way and begin to explore what his career options are. So that's a great way to start off the program, just so you parents know that you're not alone. Everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own way of accessing this information. But certainly our PEB, our Parent Executive Board, they're great advocates for this type of work. And I'll go ahead and put our our staff parent engagement email in the chat at some point, so that if you're interested either in learning more about, you know, what it is that we're doing on a broader scale in terms of parent engagement, or if you're interested in the Parent Executive Board and, you know, would love to chat with Laarni more about her experience, you can learn some more that way. But now it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Leigh Poirier, who is, every time I talk to her, I learn something new about her services, and it's so amazing what the university is doing for our students to get them prepared for not even, expanding upon what it is that they're doing within the classroom right now, but getting ready for life after college. So a little bit about Leigh. She creates teachable moments to help others grow with more than 25 years experience in education. Ranging from elementary school teacher to college faculty, she understands the power of education. In her current position as a director of strategic services within the Division of Career Pathways, she develops and promotes initiatives for students as they navigate their career paths. Her passion for mentoring and connecting people fuels her both professionally and personally, and we can certainly tell that in everything that you do. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Leigh. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you very much. Okay, I just want to give you a heads up, spoiler alert. Everything that you're hearing in the media about there's no jobs, that everything's being cut back in tech. While that is true for some sectors, the good news is that jobs and internships are still thriving at UCI. As a matter of fact, our job postings are up year over year and have been up year over year for the 5 years that I've been collecting data at the Division of Career Pathways. As a matter of fact, as of April 1st of this year, UCI students have submitted more than 150,000 applications. Just since June 1st, July 1st. So where they're thriving, they're applying and they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm here to kind of put a few nuggets out there, just like I did with Laarni, about what's available out there for your students and how you can be that supportive parent. Now, you submitted a range of great questions, and I appreciate it because that allowed me to kind of take the many resources that we have and get it down to just a few. But some of your questions may not be answered here, and that's okay because the great folks within the PEB can send along your questions and I can answer them as well. Okay, so let's start here. This is where you're going to find, you and your students can find all of the resources, and it couldn't be any easier. It's called career@uci.edu. And we're just like excited about Giving Day tomorrow because we're hoping to raise money for a photo booth. Now you're probably like, Leigh, why a photo booth? Seriously? This isn't a wedding venue. No. This photo booth is on par with many other career centers around the country because students need professional looking headshots for their LinkedIn, but other job application materials as well. And so we're raising money and working with campus departments to do, that's our Giving Day thing. That's it that I'm going to mention about Giving Day. The rest I'm going to mention about our website is this is the place where your students need to go, whether they're looking for an event or a workshop that's happening, whether they're looking for specific career resources or they want to apply for a job. Everything starts here, okay? So if you remember nothing else, career.uci.edu is exactly what you need to know. Now, most of your questions, more than half, were about internships. Now, here's the deal. There is no one magical time to apply for internships. Some competitive internships in some industries, students should be applying the fall before for that summer. So apply in September 2023 for summer 2024. But that's certain sectors, predominantly finance or anything competitive. So if your student is considering Google or Microsoft. But a lot of internships, they recruit year round. And so there's no problem. If your student doesn't have an internship right now on April 17th, they can still land an internship by the time this summer begins. The challenge is if you have a student at a semester school and a student in the UC, most of the UC system, we are on the quarter system, so we go a little bit longer than those students who are in the semester schools, but most employers can accommodate them, no problem. So let's start here. Your student wants an internship. Where should they begin? I got so many questions about that. We curated all of the resources that your students will need in this one section called Internship Pathways. We color-coded it so that everything in orange is for the students who are considering, wait a second, what is an internship? How is this different from the part-time summer job I had? What are the different industries that I need? How can I identify career skills? we curated all of the resources for each of these sections. Once your student identifies, okay, I think I've got an idea of what an internship is. What do I need to do? The next section in green is about all of the job application materials. So whether that's how they are going to prepare their cover letter, their resume, how they can promote their online image, what they can do to prepare for interviews, and I'll talk more about that. And then, because your student is absolutely amazing, how can they evaluate the offers in case they have more than one, because they're a UCI student and they're in demand. After that, but our commitment to your student and their internship doesn't end with them starting the internship. We want to help them while they're on the job as well, because for some of your students, this is their first workplace experience. Now, this question came up a lot in your pre-workshop surveys. A number of you asked, my son or daughter has no workplace experience. Are they ever going to get an internship? Well, don't worry about it, because the employers know most of the students have no experience. They're prepared for that. But what your student does have, most likely, is going to be career readiness skills. And that's something that we can help them market, the leadership skills or the communication skills or the teamwork skills that they gained from their extracurricular involvements, from their volunteering, from class projects. We can help them communicate those career readiness skills that fit in any industry. Then your student starts their internship. We want to make sure that we're helping them while they're in their internship. How are they networking? How are they showing up with professionalism, timeliness, communicating with multiple levels and multiple bosses? And then they should be thinking about the end of their internship while they're in it. What are they going to do when the internship ends? How do they keep those relationships going? How can they, for many of them, convert this internship into a full-time job? So we provide those resources as well. We also have a lot of career guides because your student is going to ask questions. So we've curated a number of resources in short guides, no more than 2 pages, 1 page front and back, that touches on a number of topics. So whether that is about those career readiness competencies that I mentioned, or how they can evaluate their skills in terms of communication, teamwork, critical thinking. We give them guided questions to help them with answering that. These are all on-demand resources that your students can use to evaluate their needs, developing a resume, or if they have very specific needs. So let's say if they are an international student or potentially a student veteran and trying to communicate their previous experiences with the military, we have career guides for that. We've also developed that one-stop guide, our career toolkit. So it basically has everything your student would possibly need for applying for a job or approaching their job search. It curates a number of the guides. It tells them how to work with Handshake. It also touches on how to build their network and networking skills. Now, the resume. If I had to pick one thing that students and parents ask about, it's resumes. We have a robust list of samples, okay? So we have a page dedicated not just what are resumes, how does a resume differ from their CV or curriculum vitae. We also have a robust list of resumes for every single school that's represented here. So whether your student is in physical science or social science, we have different resume examples for that. We also have resumes based on specific experiences. So let's say your student is a double major. How can they communicate that? Or perhaps they did study abroad, and how do they communicate the experiences that they got in that global stage? Maybe your student is that first-year student who's applying for their summer job right now, and they don't have a lot of experience. We have examples for that, so how they can communicate their career readiness skills in other ways. We also have examples for specific professional paths, whether it's pre-law or pre-med. Now, speaking of pre-med, a lot of you had questions about pre-med and how your student can prepare for that, the demands of that field. Good news, guess what's happening next week? It's our annual Health Professions Week with a robust listing of different topics related to a broad section of the healthcare. So in addition to preparing for medical school or becoming a PA or a nurse, we also have different therapists, ophthalmologists, how to prepare for the MCAT, farm school applications, a little bit of everything. We bring out recruiters from medical school programs and other professional school programs. We talk about considering a PhD in the sciences, all sorts of stuff, which culminates in our in-person health professions graduate school fair next Thursday, the 27th. All of this will be available on our website. Okay, so hang with me. I'm going to show a few more resources and then I'm going to answer some questions. Now, your students, bless their hearts. They've got that first resume and they need some help. We've got drop-ins every day, Monday through Thursday in person, and Fridays are virtual. But let's say it's 3 o'clock in the morning because your student doesn't sleep. I mean, let's just be honest, they're not sleeping and they need some resume help. We have a tool called Resume AI, where your student can scan their resume and get feedback. In addition to getting feedback about their experience level, they can also take a job description. Let's say they're applying for that internship with the public defender's office this summer. They can upload the job description and then compare their resume to that job description as it would be screened by an applicant tracking system or ATS. So it tells the student what they're doing well and what they may be missing in order to kind of refresh and reframe their resume. And they can do this. They can scan up to 5 resumes a day with an unlimited amount of different jobs. So they can customize their resume based on the jobs and internships they're interested in. A number of you also asked about interviewing, and your students need help with interviewing. The great thing is we have something called Big Interview, which has a robust list, more than 12,000 different questions that show up on any type of interview, whether it's entry level or graduate school. And each of these questions, what they're done is they're asked, and then they also give the student an example answer and how they can build their own response based on their experience. And then they can practice it by you recording their video, like recording a video of them answering it, and they can see how they would respond. So it's a great way for your students to kind of practice their interviewing in a safe, secure environment as they're kind of getting that practice without having to really be vulnerable with someone. Okay, I shared an awful lot. That's a lot to digest, but I want to give you a moment to ask a few questions, or if you want me to send along a few things. Oh, and please, please, please put your questions in the Q&A box. It's going to be much easier for us to find them that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really looking forward to, I'm sure there are some additional questions and some, specific to a student's major, which we may or may not be able to address here. So if we do have some of those questions, we can follow up after the webinar. My daughter just made an appearance. Sweetie, go back. Thank you. Oh, fun. But yeah, so we'll be able to kind of address those a little bit later. But before we go on to the full Q&A section, I would really love to give our student representative a chance to share his experience. And he is, like he said, right in the thick of some very exciting work right now. So I'm just going to introduce you, Keyvon. Very happy to share a little bit about your background. Keyvon, pronouns he and him. He is currently a 4th year business administration student and is expected to graduate from UCI this June. So that's awesome. We'll be sad to see you go, but we're really excited for what you have in your future. And some of his involvement at UCI include Greek life, on-campus ministry for students of color. His on-campus job is at our telephone outreach program, which he'll tell you a little bit more about. Keyvon started out as a student caller and worked his way up to a shift lead, which is amazing because this job requires a lot of special skills and a lot of interaction with the public. And so for him to make that leap, good job, Keyvon. He's happy to share that he was recently promoted to his current role at TOP as the new assistant supervisor. So he continues to excel, and we're very happy and excited to hear from him. So welcome, Keyvon Robinson.
Thank you, Christine, for such kind words. But yeah, so like Christine was saying, my name is Keyvon. I just wanted to give a little insight of like what it's like to be a student, but also an employee of an on-campus job. So like a little bit of why I chose to work on campus was, of course, money because we're in college. But another appeal to working on campus is the idea that when school is not in session, we're not working, which is really nice because I'm from Northern California. So I am still able to go home for breaks and see my family and have holidays with them without having to worry about, oh, I need to call up for work or I need to do this and that, because since it's on campus, when campus is in session, work is in session, which is really, really nice. And as Christine was saying, I'm part of the telephone outreach program. And here our part of our job is to reach out to past friends, family, alum, to give them updates about UCI currently and to help them have a reconnection with UCI of why they either sent their kid here or why they graduated from here and enjoyed it. We remind them of that. And then our whole purpose is to give them updates where UCI is currently and to hopefully hopefully we do that enough. We give them a good enough updates and remind them of how good the campus is in hopes that they maybe give back to the campus. And then our part of our job is to fundraise and to remind people that have left UCI or that are related to it about how important donations are, because those things help fund scholarships, on-campus organizations, programs, all things that current and future Anteaters to come will enjoy. And those things won't be able to happen if we don't have proper funding for them. So that's kind of what we do here at Telephone Outreach Program. We call alumni, we give them updates about the school. So like a fun fact that we love to give parents is that UCI is number 8 among the public universities, according to US News and World Report, and number 8 for social mobility, which means as a campus, we're growing academically and socially as well, which is really, really good because not only do we need academics, we also need the social aspect so we can carry those skills outside of college and when we graduate. And I know at least my mom was wary of me getting a job in college and balancing it all with like social life, homework, and a job. So my mom at first was a little hesitant, but I've learned balancing school and work isn't as bad as at least an on-campus job. It's not as bad because at least my boss personally knows that I'm a student first and then an employee second. So my schedule and the rest of our schedules here at TOP are very customizable around our classes, which is really, really nice because then we can say, okay, if I have class at 11 a.m., but work starts at 2, I'll have time in between to get some work done and I can go to work so I can get my schoolwork done and make extra money to do fun things and hang out with friends and all of that, which is really good. So that's a benefit of having an on-campus job. Schedules are very customizable and employers know that you're a student first and then you're an employee second. And being here at TOP, I've learned a lot of skills that are transferable outside of the job. So time management for one, because there's a lot of moving parts here at TOP and it's important to figure out what's pressing first and then do everything else, which is a very good skill to have outside of life because life is very unpredictable and chaotic. So to be able to have the time management skills and the awareness to understand that this issue is pressing, this needs my attention right now, and then I can come to these other things is a skill that I cherish and that I'm still working on, still learning. Another skill I've learned here is the importance of being on time, because for me, I've learned that I struggle with that sometimes, but knowing that there's people counting on me here, needing me to come set up shift and be here before everyone else on time is something that motivates me to help be on time to more things, not even just the job, but other obligations I may have as well. And I also have learned how to manage and communicate effectively. And these are just things that this job has taught me, but any on-campus job will help students to further their communication skills and effectively manage a group of their peers or overcome conflicts with people that are their age. Because yes, it is a benefit that we are working with our peers that are also going to school and working, but it can become a little informal at times because we all are friends. So in my role as assistant supervisor, I sometimes have to put my foot down with people that are my own age, but I've learned that's a good skill that I'm learning to take outside of here. And just in case I do find myself in a leadership position again and have to manage people around my age or even older, that this job is teaching me that it's okay to have two hats, friend and supervisor. So that's really cool. And parents should know that working on campus provides students not only with extra money, but an opportunity to network and through on-campus employment to build valuable connections and further your career. And also on-campus jobs provide students with a rare opportunity to work around people, like I was saying, in similar life situations. They're also going to school and they're also working. So everyone, I feel like there's a sense of comfort knowing that everyone's kind of doing the same thing. Like, oh, they also have class tomorrow at 9 a.m., but they're also here working with me. So I feel like that's a really nice, comforting thing to know that you're not alone as a student worker. And I know Christina mentioned this earlier, but there is the thing called Giving Day, and that TOP plays a big role in Giving Day. It's just a really big fundraising day for UCI because all of those funds go to different allocated parts on campus, ranging from the UCI fund, the School of Business, and all of those fundraising, all the money that we fundraise goes to us current students, which is really good because I can say that as a current student that benefits from scholarships and fundraising things, that the Giving Day and days like that and fundraising is super important and super beneficial to UCI. And I know I'm super grateful for that. So, and Christine will probably talk more about Giving Day towards the end of the program.
Thank you so much, Keyvon. That was a great introduction. And I love hearing your perspective about being, a student employee, the benefits, what you've learned as you've grown as a supervisor and how to interact with people of your same age group and find your way as a leader. So really, really exciting. And I'm happy for you that you're going to be graduating this June. So
thank you. I'm excited and nervous.
You're gonna do great out there, absolutely. So there was a question about TOP in the chat, so I or in the Q&A, so I put in the chat just a little bit, summary of what TOP does again for you, so that if you do hear from a student caller, some people have asked, is this for real? Is this some type of, scam or spam caller? But no, our students work very hard to prepare themselves for these calls, and it is quite legitimate. They're just working on behalf of the university to make sure that some of these great programs that we have continue to be funded, and that we can expand all the great things that we're doing for students right now. So before we get into and hear from James Gagnon, I wanted to open things up a little bit for questions for either Leigh or Keyvon. And Leigh, if you want to go ahead and put your video back on, I could probably start with you. I know you've answered a ton of questions that have come in ahead of time, but there was one interesting piece in the Q&A. I'm not sure if you know how to answer this, or if you've at least had experience kind of counseling your supervisors or students and managing this. When kids have trouble with transportation, where do they go to access that kind of help, right? So if they have an internship off campus or a job off campus, what are some of the pieces of advice that you can offer?
Absolutely, great question. Number one, there are internships that are available on campus and near campus, and I sent that out to folks, so that's a possibility. The other challenge, yes, I serve on the UCI OC Alliance, which is kind of a community issue. We work with employers on this, and my biggest thing is transportation. There are some programs that do offer for certain scholars who are in certain programs, they could get some vouchers for transportation. Also, there's the bus passes, there's reduced bus passes. But here's the deal also. And now my employer advisory board, I work with more than 25 different employers on our advisory board. We meet quarterly. Many of them have virtual internships or hybrid internships. So while we all want our students to have on-the-job workplace experience, many of us know that the workplace experience has changed. And so it can be hybrid or virtual. So your students should still be looking for opportunities that way.
Excellent. And then one question that I think you could probably answer, and Keyvon may have some additional insights as well, is, people get so nervous about the interview process. And what are some of the basic kind of tools and, suggestions that you give to students to help them through that initial anxiety of going through an interview?
I'm gonna let Keyvon do it first, because I think he's got a little bit more street cred as somebody who's been highly successful, and then I can fill in with the resources.
So the question was, how do you prepare for an interview, or like what's your mindset going into the interview?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like the best advice I can give is confidence is something that someone can pick up. So even if you don't feel the most qualified, even if you don't feel like your resume meets the requirements for the job, I feel like confidence in yourself and knowing how to conduct yourself is something that's very important, and that can get you a really long way, because you can have somebody that may meet all the requirements on the resume, but they're not a good communicator. They may look good on paper, but you can have somebody that may not have all the qualifications on paper, but can communicate effectively, is confident and sure of themselves, and that will go a long way. So I feel like if you take that mindset into an interview, 9 times out of 10, you will maybe if you don't get the job, you will feel good about yourself, that you know that your capabilities, and you know that you would add any workplace you go to, they will be lucky to have you. And I feel like if you have that in the back of your mind, going into interviews won't be scary. It's just knowing your worth, knowing that you're enough, and that your past accomplishments and skills and work ethic will get you far enough. And that's okay if an employer doesn't see that, because that means it wasn't right for you. And I'm a big believer of what's meant for you won't pass you by.
Wow, that's such a positive attitude. I'll remember that. I'll have this recording on loop if not that I'm applying for anything, but just for any situation where you feel, that little twinge of nerves, right? To understand that you're worth it, that you have this breadth of experience and you have something to offer. So how do you go about preparing for an interview or an internship opportunity? What do you feel are like some of those key things that are going to be the best things for you as you're getting ready?
Practice, but don't sound rehearsed. Like, I have friends that are applying since we're seniors now, all my friends are applying, and we're going through interview practicing and having questions and doing mock interviews. So I practice, but don't sound rehearsed. You can have your answers memorized, but have them in bullet points, because you don't want to sound robotic. You want the interview to come off natural, like a conversation. Because yes, your interviewer is trying to get to know you, but it's supposed to be kind of like a conversation, so they can see your personality, not a robot who memorized the script. So I'd say practice and don't rehearse. And then I also would advise to just to relax. Again, that's what I'm saying. Know your worth and know that you can do it.
It's like a seasoned career educator. Yeah, practice, practice, practice. We have a number of and this is where we have tools that can help students regardless of where they're at. So if they go to big interview, there are, in addition to that robust question library and the mock interview where they can video record themselves, there are also short instructional videos on a range of topics. So for interview tips for introverts, interview tips for recent graduates entering the workplace, interview tips for folks who English isn't their first language. There's a range of different things for those videos can be helpful, and they're short and digestible. But practicing is the big one, because as Keyvon said, it's not just about having the right answer, it's about being natural and comfortable with who you are, because you are more than your student is more than their resume, and we want to know who it is that will be coming to that workspace. So practicing, in addition to practicing with big interview, we do have, as I said, every day drop-ins. So whether it's in-person drop-ins or virtual drop-ins, we also have, your students can schedule a meeting with one of our career educators and have one-on-one feedback with them. So there's a whole host of things and other on-demand resources as well.
That's great. Yeah, no, I think, the interview question is kind of one of the largest looming pieces right after, where do you go searching for these jobs and these internships? And I think you mentioned, oh gosh, what is the platform that we're using right now for these job searches?
Handshake.
Yes. So you can find either or both of those opportunities, correct? Fabulous. Okay. One very important question, I think, from one of the parents is, where are you located, Leigh? Where is Division of Career Pathways located on campus?
there we go. Perfect. Okay, so easiest place ever, because your student will know where the Starbucks in the student center is. Okay, we're on Ring Road, heart of campus, near Aldrich Hall. So if your student finds their way to Starbucks in the student center, they just turn around and they're facing career pathways. That's it. We couldn't get any easier.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. I see some other questions coming in. Some of them may be a little bit more specific to certain areas. But if Taylor, if you want to go ahead and unmute, if there's anything that you feel that's kind of critical and would apply to, you know, a student's experience broadly, that would be helpful just to kind of hear that right now.
Sure, yeah, there was a question about like the timeline of a submission of an application to an interview to an actual start date, like what should a student expect for that? And then also how many applications are typical for a student? They're asking about a specific major, but you know, how many applications are typical for a student in general? And then also, are most internships gateways to future employment or just to gain experience?
Oh my gosh, those are really good questions. Job applications, there is no magic number. It really depends on the industry and what the student is seeking. I mean, it could be if they're in a really, you know, what is their needs as far as geography? Are they trying to stay just in Southern California because it's got the best weather ever? Or are they trying to get somewhere they're open to any location? It's that the number, there is no magic number of applications. There's no magic number for timelines. There's some employers who are hiring as quick as like within 48 to 72 hours. It's just that, you know, that think for those types of jobs, those aren't your forever careers, but that is something where a student can get early workplace experience. Think your service related things. So fast food, you know, the entry level kind of like the really low entry level kind of jobs. But some depend, like if it's a federal job, it could take up to a year. I mean, I talked to our recruiters from the FBI, and their recruitment process can take 9 months to a year because of the extensive background check. Same thing if you want to work for like Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So here's my advice to the students. And one of the parents had asked that, like their student had an interview for a great internship. How should they follow up? They should follow up with a well-crafted email that I would always recommend to have a second set of eyes on it, where they're saying, after about 2 weeks of not hearing, for them to email the recruiter and say, I'm still very eager and interested in this opportunity, and let me know if there's other information I can provide to help you with making this decision. It's just gentle enough to say, don't forget I'm here, but it's not that kind of clingy, needy sort of thing. So number of how many applications? It depends. What's the timeline? It depends. What was the third part of it? There was another one in there as well. But yeah, it really does depend on what industry and what, internships, are they a gateway? Once again, it depends. I taught for 4 years an internship course for students where they could earn anywhere from 2 to 4 units based on the numbers of hours of their internship. For some of them, especially if they were like sophomores and juniors, their internship was exploratory. It was a way for them to gain some experience and some exposure. For our seniors, for some of them, yeah, it led to a full-time job. For some of our undergrads, it also led to like a summer job or something. I will say from our employer standpoint, our employers view internships as a blend of training, but also like an extended interview observation period. So your student should be approaching their internship with the assumption that they want to work there. And it may not be a love match. They may decide that they don't really want to be, you know, doing bench science or whatever that may be, but there could be a valuable professional connection that they can make in that internship. And while they may not want to work for that company, they have the ability to make an impression that can lead to their next opportunity. So that would be, they should always treat it as something for them to let their skills shine.
Wow, great recall, Leigh, on all of those questions. Just a couple more before we move on. I think there was a question about networking, and I know we talked about career fairs at the top of the program, but Are there any businesses or entities that contact the university to say, we have a networking event, can you help us get students there? What's the best way for students to network outside of these career fairs if they, you know, have the time and energy to focus on that?
Employers, in addition to career fairs, because career fairs, as Laarni's son can say, it's a lot of people. It's over 150 employers, 1,000 students. What many employers will also do is they do information sessions, both virtual and here at UCI. We've got Adobe coming and they're providing students with lunch. They'll do information sessions. They may do office hours. So the IRS scheduled an entire day of office hours where students could just drop in and ask questions. FBI does that as well. They may even do on-campus interviews. So that's when we have actually 6 interview rooms where an employer like LA Department of Water came here because transportation is such an issue for students. They did over 72 interviews of students here at UCI. So those students didn't have to get on the 405 or the 5 to drive to for the interview. They could do it in between classes. So employers understand that that it can be a challenge for students to get off campus. And so many employers will come here or do their stuff virtually to get to know students better. We also offer employers the ability to get resume books, and students can opt to have their resumes featured in one of 10 different industry-based resume books. And that's another way to get in front of employers.
Excellent. Good to know. And like many of our offices on campus, parent and family engagement, we have our own newsletter where we highlight the things that we're doing, but also communicate out, you know, the big, you know, new events that are happening with career pathways and other things on campus. Do you yourself have a newsletter that students can receive?
We do. We actually send weekly emails, short digestible chunks, every Sunday night to students, to undergrads, and every other week to graduate students, which just it curates the many events that we have. We provide 3 hot jobs, and some of these jobs really are kind of hot. And then we highlight a few different tips because we know that there's a lot of information out there. So yeah, students get a weekly email from us.
That's great to know. You know, I think, yeah, in our work, sometimes we forget to highlight that area in terms of all of the outreach that we're doing. And even if there's social media, so we all work together on campus to kind of share what we can, but that's great that you break it up for students, because I feel that's probably like, you know, a little easier to digest if they have, you know, one email that's covering one specific topic. So I think we've tackled a lot of pieces in terms of careers and the student employee experience. I'm so glad that everybody was, you know, available to be involved in this. Don't go yet, because we have our next speaker, who is James Gagnon. He oversees engagement and annual programs in our office, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Giving Day, which officially kicks off at midnight. So James, take it from here.
Thanks, Christine, and thank you to everyone that's with us in this webinar, and thank you again, Leigh, and Laarni for everything that you did to put this event together. So yes, everyone, my name is James Gagnon. I'm the Senior Director of Annual Giving here at UCI, and one of the programs that I help put on is Giving Day, which is a really important event for the university because it provides us with an opportunity one day throughout the year to tell the story of over 110 different areas across campus, and the ways in which a gift to that area is going to enrich student life, help lead to groundbreaking research, and really just help ensure that students not only have the opportunity to attend UCI, but the opportunity to complete their education here. And so I just wanted to quickly share, Giving Day starts, yes, at midnight, but we are actually starting a little bit early. We have our early access period. And so our parent and family engagement team here have decided this year that they want to focus on enriching the student experience. And so they have partnered with some departments across campus, including Leigh's department, to make sure that we are promoting to our parent community areas in which help our students succeed. And so areas to consider are Anteater grant initiatives, which is a program that supports department across the entire enterprise that enriches student experience. And so programs like the Veterans Resource Center, Sage Scholars Program, the Basic Needs Hub, those have all been supported by Anteater grant initiatives. The Basic Needs Center itself is one of the areas of support. And so providing student resources to students who struggle with food and housing insecurity. Our counseling center, one of the real areas of focus for our parent executive board has been the mental health of our students. And one of our other parent executive board members, Marte Matthews, held a webinar event earlier this month, really delving into this topic. And so a gift to the Wellness Health Counseling Service really helps expand some of the mental health services and programming that the UCI Counseling Center puts on. Our Disability Services Center is raising funds for scholarships that are awarded to students that have a disability. And this is a critical area of need. There are over 2,500 students that interact with and are serviced by the Disability Services Center. And scholarships for this marginalized community is certainly a great need for us. Leigh has spoken a little bit about this photo booth that she wants to get for DCP that is really going to help with the early professional development and presentation of some of our youngest Anteaters. And so certainly worthy of your consideration. And then our Study Abroad Center. So Study Abroad is an incredible experience, a unique experiential form of education that sometimes some of our students aren't able to fully engage with and participate in because there are costs associated with study abroad well above just like what you pay in tuition. And so everything from your passport fees to your round trip airfare, food and room and board. And the Study Abroad Center tries to give out some scholarship awards specifically to help students with some of these supplemental costs associated with participating in study abroad. And so as a university with the largest number of first generation students in the UC system, I'm a first gen student. I wasn't able to take part in study abroad because I couldn't afford the supplemental costs. This is an area where you can really have impact. And so these are just a few areas that support student life and the student experience here at UCI. But I encourage you all, if someone could put in the chat, to visit our Giving Day website. It's givingday.uci.edu. There's a lead video on our homepage that features none other than Keyvon Robinson. He's not just a wonderful caller and a vibrant presence on Zoom. He's also made for video format as well. But we hope that you look at the website. We hope that you find an area across UCI that's meaningful to you to support. Because again, you know, we're only able to provide the type of student experience that we are, in part because of the support of our alumni, our parents, and our community supporters. So that is my spiel. I thank you all for attending tonight's event, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Thanks so much, James. That was a great overview of all the work that you've done to help support various areas across campus. And certainly within parent and family engagement, we understand how important student success is. A lot of these, you know, the focus of some of what we have on our page has been driven by, you know, their interest in supporting students in these areas of career development, of mental health, of, you know, students with disabilities, things like that. So really encourage you to check out the link, which is in the chat. So that's a Giving Day. And then also, if somebody else can put in the parent link, I don't have that readily available, but that also kind of summarizes some of the things that James was talking about during his speech. So just one moment, please. I had to silence my little snackers here in the background. Apologies. So small children, they come in every once in a while. make things a little interesting. So yeah, so there's so much to be learned about Giving Day. We did get started early. We've made some great progress, but we'd love for you to spread the word. So if you have already donated, please share these links across your social networks. We'll also be posting some things throughout the day, into the evening and tomorrow that you can share. And really, we're just excited about people participating in this event. Really, any gift makes a difference. And it just shows what a great community we have and what great community support we have for our Anteaters. That's, about like kind of what we're here to talk about, right? Just finding that support for our students and for our families. So I guess we'll kind of close out a little bit early unless, anybody else has anything to share, but I'm so grateful for all of our speakers. Thanks again, James, Leigh Poirier from Division of Career Pathways, Keyvon Robinson, soon to be Anteater grad who's working in our telephone outreach program, and certainly Laarni van Ruden, who is just an amazing partner in the Parent Executive Board and is very diligent about keeping us aware of what parents need and what they need for their students. So we're so grateful. I think it's a good time now for anyone who wants to put on their video from our panelists to do a little zot. And get ready. The count of 3, almost. We're ready. 1, 2, 3.
Zat.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll be sharing out this video with everyone. Take care.